Welcome to episode 241, How to Work Through Self-Doubt. Welcome to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvis, mindset specialist and performance coach. And here on the show, I'm going to challenge you to think deeper, commit to greatness, and develop a stronger mindset. You'll hear stories from those who are living life on their terms, and you'll receive strategies that will help you level up. So the question is, are you ready to be your own 1%? Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Be That 1% podcast. If this is your first time to the show, welcome. So glad that you're here. If you are a return listener, welcome home. As you guys know, this episode and podcast is all centered around helping you be more of who you are, to live life on your terms. Being that 1% is not just a financial thing. It's a overall understanding of you are one of one. You are the gift. You are your own guru. And so everything I create on this podcast is an attempt to help you be more of who you are. Because with that level of diversity, we'll have greater levels of innovation. We'll be able to create impact in our own way, live more fulfilling lives, and be in better states to handle hard things. I was just being interviewed on a friend of mine's podcast, and one of the things that he asked me while on the show was, what's one thing you want to see more of in this world? And after thinking about it, I mentioned interdependence. And what that means is you have, three levels of relationships: dependent, independent, interdependent. Dependency is obviously you need something else in order to feel whole. Independent means you're fine by yourself, but interdependent means that you're bringing your independent nature to another relationship that's also independent to collaborate, to synergize. And when you create interdependence, it's like you're creating your own Avengers squad or a team to accomplish a certain mission, right? In the Avengers, you don't see Iron Man trying to be like Captain America or Captain America trying to be like the Hulk. They all have their thing, but everyone knows that they each have their thing, and that's what makes them special. They own their gift, and they utilize the collective gifts to serve a overall greater purpose. And so I bring that up because part of listening to this podcast is an understanding of that. Like you have your own gift, whether you know it right now or not. There is something that you have that no one has. And when you begin to find that and cultivate that or create that, you create your own uniqueness. And there's a pride in that. There's a power in that. There's a respect and a reverence in that. And if you could bring that to more situations, I think you can leverage more of your skill set and create the impact that you're wanting to create. And so I try and bring on guests. I bring on topics that I find are helpful for me, and also that my fans or my team or my community wants to hear. And recently, some of you may know this, I joined a app called Do You Mind? It's the first emotional wellness app, and it encompasses some of the great coaches and therapists in the world. And it's a platform where you can come on and get access to on-demand sessions, get one-on-one coaching if you desire to, have journal prompts and resources at your disposal to help you on your growth journey. And so that's been really fun for me to partake in the last month. And one of the episodes that I'm doing is centered around self-doubt, which is the topic of today's episode. And so I figured I'd also share part of that here to help you guys out and to also help me better articulate it and learn from what I've been discussing. And so today we're going to be talking about what is self-doubt, how do you know if you're experiencing it, where does it come from, and how to work through it. Okay, so if you're a growth individual of any kind and you want to be better, you'll understand that every new level has a new devil. And when you reach that new level, there is a natural kind of gap of skill and even of identity. And in that gap, self-doubt can rise. And if we don't know what to do, if we don't have skills or techniques or strategies to help navigate that self-doubt can overcome our life and prevent us from moving forward and from living more of our life in the way that we want to. So my hope with this episode is that it can, one, enlighten both of us on how to recognize and what to do when self-doubt arises, right? So the definition, if we were to look it up, just textbook dictionary definition, self-doubt is the lack of confidence in one's own abilities. Now, we can have self-doubt in our ideas, beliefs, relationships, decisions, emotions, right? And it's important to know that this is normal and that you're not weird, you're not different, and this is an invitation for us to look into it, feel it, and move in a direction, right? So you may be experiencing self-doubt if you can't accept compliments from others. You physically cannot accept them. When someone pays you a compliment on your work ethic, on a characteristic that you have, on a skill set you have, it goes in one ear and out the other. You also, at the same token, can't give yourself any credit because it's not you. Somehow it's luck, which is really about imposter syndrome, right? You may constantly be seeking reassurance. Maybe you're always asking for feedback, but the feedback is a disguise for your reassurance. I really want to know that I'm okay and that I'm adding value here and that I need you to validate my self-worth. Or you may be having thoughts of, I'm never good enough, right? All these kind of beliefs and thoughts can create and perpetuate and either also exacerbate self-doubt, right? And so what causes this? Why is this a thing? Why do we even experience self-doubt? And there are probably many reasons, but I want to go over three main ones that I found to be true in my own life, and then also in the lives of my clients and those that I serve. And so the first thing is attachment style. And if you haven't heard of attachment style, this is in the therapeutic realm of psychology. And if you have done any sort of therapy before, you may recognize some of this language. But the attachment theory is basically your relationship to your primary caregiver. And there's four kind of main attachment styles. I'll briefly go over all of them, but depending on which one you have could dictate how much self-doubt you have in your ability and in your life. Right? So the first one we have is the secure attachment. This is roughly about 50 to 60% of the country, according to recent research. And this is where the caregiver and the child, right? If let's say the child is distressed and is needing a parent, they're crying, they're worried, something's going on, and that parent soothes them, is able to go to them and make them feel better. That is the beginnings of a secure attachment, that when the caregiver is not present with the child is distressed. And when the parent comes back, joy comes about when the parent is reunited with the child. And so there is a very safe place, that is the safe relationship that it gets formed between the caregiver and the child, right? And this is where organic and natural growth can occur in the individual. Then you have anxious attachment. This is where the parent may have unclear or inconsistent care for the child, that the child can't rely on the parent because they show up at different times. One time they can soothe them, at the other time when the baby's crying, no one comes and soothes the baby. Or when they leave, the baby's kind of like, okay, parents are gone, I want them, but it doesn't really know when they're going to come back. And so there's always this borderline underlying anxiety over like, where am I going to be taken care of, right? Then there's the avoidant attachment. This can result with abusive or neglective caregivers. Children who are punished for relying on a caregiver will learn to avoid seeking help in the future. This is where the parent can be cold or withdrawn or just distant. And so that child learns that, hey, this is not a reliable source. And so they kind of fend for themselves and they avoid kind of that interaction. And then you have the anxious avoidance. So it's kind of a blend of both the anxious and avoidant tendencies. And so depending on, whether you're secure or whether you're anxious or whether you're avoidant or whether you're anxious avoidant could dictate how much self-doubt one could experience in the gaps from where you are to where you want to be. And through therapy, through coaching, through mindfulness, you could begin to catch yourself in these unconscious tendencies, these natural ways of being, that you can begin to rewire that behavior. You could heal, you can forgive, you can reframe some stories that were created through your upbringing that can help you navigate self-doubt, either minimize it or navigate it when it shows up. So that's been really helpful for me, not only as a coach understanding my clients, but also me understanding me. Like, I am a secure attachment style, and I'm very grateful for my parents for that. I know that that's not everyone can say that, so I want to just express gratitude to both mom and dad. Thank you. And then also for me, being a parent of soon to be two, creating that attachment style with my children, the secure attachment, right, where they feel emotionally safe, where they can take risks and know that they're still loved, right? It's very, very important, especially if you want to build stronger leaders, to be able to create those environments for not just our kids, but maybe even our teams at work if we're leaders, right? So that's the first thing, becoming mindful of that. Number 2 is comparison, comparing our day 1 to someone else's day 965, right? We can get in our heads and think we can never be like John or Sally or Joe, or I could never do it like Chris or Angelica or whoever, right? And we can fall into the definitions that others create for us around what beauty is, what success is, what health is. And we can overthink. We can value people's opinions too much, fear of other people's opinions that keep us small and cause us to not break out of the box that we created for ourselves or that we've allowed other people to create for ourselves. And so we just get stuck in the comparison trap and think, oh man, just because there's always going to be someone better than us and there's always going to be someone worse than us. But we don't focus on the worst part. We always focus on the people that are better. And so we always feel inferior. And if that doesn't shift, or we don't learn to leverage that in appropriate ways through maybe feeling inspired rather than less than, then we're always going to feel inadequate, which means we're not going to take the action that we need. And the self-doubt's going to get higher and longer, last longer, and be more powerful. And we won't be able to shift it. So we got to recognize that we're the one that's creating that loop. And although self-doubt may rear its head, it doesn't have to stay long-term and prevent us from the things that we want. And number 3, and probably the most, this is the one that I think about the most, is knowing that you're not doing the work can create self-doubt. Confidence comes from doing something and seeing progress in the thing that you're doing. But if you're not even doing the work, then you know that you're not progressing. And so when it comes to this new level that you're entering, you're going to reference why you should be at that new level. Well, if you're not doing the work that's going to prepare you mentally with an identity or skill-wise with a new level of adaptability or agility, then you're not going to be able to sustain that level, and or you will sabotage before you even get to that level. You may have fear of failing or fear of success or whatever the blocker is. Mostly it's fear, but the point is that the work is not being done. And if the work is being done, then you can have confidence in your ability to show up and do the work. And if you have metrics around the work that you're doing, then you can have confidence that there is progress. And that's something that you can rely on moving forward and over time build an even stronger identity. And then self-doubt kind of minimizes as your skill grows and as your identity strengthens. right? And so this is probably the easiest one that we can shift is like, what am I doing daily to progress in any area, in the area that I want to be better at and that I want to have less self-doubt in? What is the work that I'm doing and how am I progressing in it, right? And so here's an example of how I've worked through many examples of doubt. One, this is a professional example, and I'll go to a personal example too. But the professional one is recently I was started to do business with this company, very big company in the U.S. and big team, right? And I pitched a program where I'll be working with all their cities nationwide, right? So let's talk about 300, 400, 500 employees over the span of like 20 states. And in this package, I presented this program for a yearly salary. Like that's how much the package was worth. And this is the highest package that I've ever offered. And I was sweating. I was questioning, man, can I really deliver what it is that I'm promising here? And am I qualified enough to ask for this type of money? This is what someone can go to school for and graduate with a degree and still not make what I'm asking for here. This is a new level. I'd never been to this level before. And I was freaking out. It took me a couple of days to work through this. And in my process of working through this is where kind of the strategies come in, is I had to go to a specific place mentally and tap into some reservoirs of information that I had to go and search for. One is I had to revisit all my testimonials and my success stories. All these people that have given me feedback over the years. Oh, James, your training had helped me do this. Your one-on-one coaching did this. Your mastermind helped me do this. That time that you came into my class and said this, like text messages, DMs, emails, testimonials, videos. I had to go and reference all of that to remind myself, one, of the work that I had done, the impact that I had made, but also just to be able to accept that is true, that did happen, right? And that gave me a bit more confidence. Then I had to revisit my purpose. What is my purpose with this business? Is to help people live life on their terms and to reach new levels, right? And this would be helping me reach a new level. So I would be a hypocrite if I don't push myself here. And so, yes, I got to say yes to this opportunity. I had to remind myself of all the times that I've been resourceful, where I've been in situations where a new opportunity was presented to me and I had to say yes, and I had to figure out how to make it. And I had lists of times where I felt like an underdog but came out on top in the way that I defined on top. And so that helped me. And then I looked through to stories that inspired me, stories like Bill Gates and how when he first started his business, he pitched a prototype of something that he didn't even have created. And when he sold it and the person that he was selling it to said yes, he had 30 days to go and find the team and build the prototype to make it happen. And he made it happen, right? Or you think about someone like Roger Bannister, who was the first person to run a mile in under 4 minutes in the 1950s. And he was the catalyst for a change. And after he broke the 4-minute barrier, 17 days, 30 days after that, someone broke his record because Roger showed that it was possible. Right. And so for me, this was a Roger Bannister moment in my own life with what I was charging for my services and a level that the trajectory was pointing to that I needed to be on, but one that I needed to fully leap into with courage and trust. And so all these kind of like little strategies I was using to build my confidence up helped me send the proposal. And I sent the proposal. I talked to the person. They said yes. And boom, new level was reached. That was a struggle. There was a lot that came up for me in those moments, and I had to leverage my community, and I had to go back into the archives of my mind to pull something out. And another example personally would be like when I first met Amanda. She was she still is, the most beautiful woman that I had ever seen, and I was instantly attracted and also instantly afraid because she was the most beautiful girl that I had seen up until that time. And I had dated, relatively attractive women in my past, but none like this. And I never felt like this before. And just a short interaction of seeing Amanda. And so my doubt of my ability to, one, attract someone like that and also sustain a relationship like that got in my head. And I had to really work through that. I had to remind myself of, why I was also a prize to be with, someone that would enjoy my company, what I had to offer, who I was, where I was going, and really focus on being me in that relationship so that I didn't people please too much, or I didn't give away some of my power, which I had done in previous relationships. And so it was a mixture of mindfulness and also telling of a new story that helped me day by day step into that relationship to the point where obviously you guys know how that all ended. So it really takes an intentionality with this, or else self-doubt can eat you alive and prevent you from going where you want to go. And so here are 2 strategies that I use that I probably referenced above, but to codify it a little bit better, that I think can help you as well, given wherever you're feeling or experiencing self-doubt. Number 1 is the confidence catalog. And I use this just about weekly. Because I'm having so many different speeches and so many different opportunities arise for me in different areas. Like, I'm constantly building that identity of, yes, this is an alignment. Yes, this is something that you can handle, even though it's something you've never done. And that is basically documenting and going back and documenting all of your past wins, what things that you're proud of. Time you graduated, time you bought your first home, or you bought a car, or you got top sales at your company, or you rose in your company to a new position. Anything that you would consider a win, anything from past sports, anything from something nice that someone told you, anything that can boost this confidence, document it. This is so helpful. The mind doesn't know whether something's happening right now or the difference between what's happening right now and what you're vividly imagining. And so if you can go back into a memory that actually has happened, reference a truth, step back into that moment, the same neurochemistry begins to fire up. The same posture begins to become embodied. The same mental story becomes activated. And so that begins the momentum of the confidence that can give you enough courage to say yes to the opportunity, to continue to move forward, or to say no to the thing that's distracting you and say yes to the thing that you know you need to do. But referencing your past wins can build that identity that's needed to say yes to the opportunity and also sustain it over the long haul. And the second thing is having metrics to track, to know if growth is happening. Progress is a big component of happiness, but you have to know how you're progressing. So in your business, how are you, if that's where you want to focus, how are you growing your business? In what areas? In sales, in marketing, in acquisition, in decreasing or increasing retention, right? And in decreasing attrition, right? Where are the business growth areas and how are you progressing? And making it easy to understand so that you notice, yes, we are making a difference here. Or no, we are not growing. We need to change something. Hard to know if you don't track. You could do this in health. You could do this in relationships by how many date nights you go on or how many honest conversations you have that keep the relationship feeling solid, right? And so these 2 things, I think, can help in significant ways. You'd be surprised at how many people don't have metrics to track for their growth in any area. So just by uncovering that is going to skyrocket anything that you begin to create a framework around. And then the confidence catalog is going to give you the energy, the courage, and the confidence to continue to move forward and to achieve the goal that you set out to do. And that, my friends, is living life on your terms, dictating how you show up, defining what is right for you, and going after it, pursuing it, and loving the pursuit of it. Not so much the achievement, although that's fantastic, but the person you're becoming. Every day, every choice you make is a vote. This is what James Clear says, author of Atomic Habits. Every choice you make is a vote that you're casting for the type of person that you want to be. So who are you wanting to be, and do your choices and your decisions match that? And you're tracking your growth, you're reinforcing the identity and making it stronger. And over that, compounded over the years, creates mastery. And when you're a master at something, man, great levels of fulfillment, purpose, meaning, and your ability to create impact and add value skyrockets. And that's how we make this world a better place. And so hopefully this helps. Share this episode with anyone that you feel needs to hear this. And when self-doubt shows up, take a deep breath, know that it's normal, and leverage a few of these strategies that we talked about here today. All right? Much love, everybody. Enjoy. Go out there, be your own 1%, and live life unlimited.